I'm not going to stand here and create excuses. I can only say I'm going to do everything I can to get better, and I'm sure all of us boys are thinking the same. And we're going to get back to that training field, and I promise you, we're going to start delivering more because we have to, and we know that.
It's Friday. It's pre-recorded. Now the show Dozens Love the 9 Years podcast.
Alright everybody, welcome to the 9 Years podcast with Nick Draper and the face of the BBC Sport website, Stuart Deacons, and thank you very much once again for downloading the show this week and putting up with Stu and myself moaning for an hour. We wish we didn't have to moan. We really honestly do. I don't think people believe us when we say this. We want to start the podcast nice and positively, everything's good, excited about the next game, excited about what's happened before. Unfortunately, at this moment in time, moment is a word I shouldn't use in these circumstances. I shouldn't say that. But in this period of time at AFC Wimbledon, it's not really... Well, we're in that situation, aren't we, where things are going to be a bit of a struggle. It's just where we are as a club at the moment. So all the usual will be coming up on this week's podcast, but we have games with Shrewsbury and Coventry to discuss in detail. That's what we're going to be focusing on. And yeah, another 2 games in which we've let leads slip. I calculated that so far this season in 9 league games we have dropped from winning positions 13 points. I mean, we can discuss that until the cows come home and why that is and what have you. But I have a wider question to start with. And Stu, that is a lot of unhappy people that we speak to on match days, that are making their feelings known on social media, on various guest books, public and secret ones. And people, I don't know, like there's a difference of opinion with people saying we shouldn't really be moaning. Here's the issue I've got. A lot of people are saying we shouldn't be moaning because we're not far away. No one's hammered us or anything like that. We've been unlucky in games. We've had chances in games, and we'll talk about potential penalties and missed chances from this past week as well. But as a general rule, I don't think performances have been very good. So my question to you is, Stu, are people just moaning about results, which is what people seem to think is the case, and the fact that we are 9 games into the league season without a win in all competitions. We are 1 win in the last 16, 17 if you include that stupid beating trophy, which we don't. But is it purely results that people are looking at? Or is it the combination of results and performances? And is it not, in fact, because this might be the case for me, that performances are actually more worrying than this horrendous run of results we're on?
Yeah, I think for the majority of people, and I can't talk on behalf of the majority, but the people that I've spoken to, it tends to be a lot about performances and then the results that come off the back of that. There's no doubt that I think if we hadn't played that team up the road up a very, very long road in Buckinghamshire, if we hadn't played them twice this season and basically thrown the white flag against them twice, I sense that we wouldn't be moaning as much. But I think those performances alone have really set a lot of people, well, definitely a lot of people I know. But we haven't. I think my biggest issue is we are not playing well. In my opinion, we are not playing well. If anyone wants to say, I've yet someone to say to me where we played well, how we've done, or what we've done to play well. All I hear from a lot of people is we play long ball, play boring football. We score goals. Well, we scored 1 goal last game against Coventry, and that was our only shot on target. My biggest gripe at the moment is watching Waddy's interviews, because they're starting to get a little bit of telling me things that are not necessarily true. I'm hearing that we've only been outplayed or beaten heavily once at Sunderland. That's using. I can think of other occasions where we've been totally dominated and outplayed. Yes, we may be not conceding loads of goals. We conceded 3 at Shrewsbury, but let's not kid ourselves. to say that we are not far away from the first win, I don't know how you can quantify that, because I don't see any occasion where a team has scored late to deny us a win. Most games, we've only scored 1 goal in the last 15 minutes and conceded 5 goals in the same period. So no win is being taken away from us where a draw is resulting. We are getting beat, and I don't see where the first win is coming from. Even after, clean sheets, etc., we're still doing the same mistakes.
That last 15 minutes statistic, then, is it purely based on mentality, which is what Will Nightingale alluded to in his interview after the Coventry game? Is it a fitness thing? Is it a tactical thing in where we've involved? Because, let's be honest, I know we've spoken about the Ipswich game a few times on this show, but it's been other games as well. The goals that we conceded late were coming because we were inviting pressure on ourselves. We weren't keeping possession. We were dropping deeper, and that seems to be a recurring theme. So there's lots of different things that come into it. What would you say is the key one of those?
I think there's a combination of them. I think the way we play, we give away possession. I think I saw a stat where our possession stat is 44% across, and as an average across all 9 league games. So we don't have the lion's share of possession, and I think when you give away cheap possession, you then naturally are working hard. People always say you work harder without the ball than you do with the ball. We don't have the ball enough, so we are stages where we don't have enough possession, which then means we're running around more. Yes, it could be a mental side of it, because as we've got, we drop deeper, and then you invite the pressure on. But I think it's a combination. I couldn't really put my finger on it and go, it's definitely our fitness. I think it's a combination. But when you keep giving the ball away so cheaply, of course you're going to be more tired.
I'm a little bit worried for certain players as well, because we've played a lot of games this season already, and I'm not sure where they're going to get a rest. So, and there's what made me think about this was a couple of changes in the past week, or past 2 weeks. Anthony Hartigan was dropped from the squad entirely for the trip to Buckinghamshire a couple of weeks ago, and then was straight back in the starting lineup. Just seems to be being rested for a week. There was no explanation given to why he wasn't involved. Same happened to Terrell Thomas, suddenly not in the squad for the Shrewsbury game. It felt like he's been given a little bit of a rest. But there are other players, and I'm chiefly looking here at our 2 wing-backs, who, if they're not playing, I don't know who else is. And they look knackered already.
Yeah, well, it's a formation, isn't it? It's a case of we play 3-5-2. If O'Neill is injured or Nesta's injured, who comes in? We sort of banked on this, and this is, we'll probably get into it more a bit later, but this 3-5-2 formation is all we play. And the personnel doesn't change too much. Definitely wing-backs, as you said. And even centre-halves, it's very much a muchness, isn't it? Will's played quite a lot of games. But I think O'Neill is starting to show signs of mental fatigue. He started off really well, probably brought his form in from Gillingham, but the last couple of games made a couple of mistakes that are not things that we were seeing earlier on this season.
Yeah, well, the point's been made in terms of fatigue, and the players you mentioned there, and mentality, whatever. The point's also been made, this is a very, very young team, so they're going to make mistakes. I'm not sure about this, if I'm being honest with you. We have young players, but we also have a lot of experience in this team. And should we not be looking more to those players, really, to be stepping up to the plate, as it were? Because I've been thinking regular starters this year, or players that have been regularly involved. I mean, you mentioned Will there. I wouldn't consider Will particularly young. I wouldn't say O'Neill. I wouldn't say McDonald or Thomas particularly. Thomas apparently not played so many games. Similar situation to Will maybe, but Wagstaff certainly, Riley certainly, Piggott certainly, Apaya certainly. I think we're looking at young players who are making mistakes, and there are young players. You've mentioned the defenders and Callum Bye, for example, but there's got to be more to it than that, surely, because as I said, there's enough more experienced players in there to cover, surely.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because when you look through the ages, our captain's 24. And he is probably, I'm thinking, who's older? So Piggott's older than Will. Piggott's 25, Kwesi 29, Rod 27, Scott Wagstaff 29. They're your older, experienced people. Callum's at even we think Callum O'Reilly is experienced, but he's still only 25. So maybe In terms of, I think sometimes you can get caught up in, and I think what we're seeing at the moment is that we're desperately, I think as fans, we know how good Wally and Glyn were last year to do the Great Escape, and it was a great, I think sometimes when you start a new season, you start losing, you sometimes can actually forget how good that was. It was a great escape, and I think fans are still on the back of that, and trying to now make excuses to actually help Wally along with, trying to support him. But it's not, there's a bit of experience, but when your captain's 24 and, he's openly come out and apologised after the Coventry game, you have to hope that these players will start taking some responsibility, because, yes, they are young, but some of them have got quite a few league appearances under their belt at the moment.
Is Will's captaincy a little bit of an issue as well, in terms of he is still learning that role? So I'll take Callum By as an example here, and there's a wider point about our young players, but Callum By at this moment in time is learning his trade, but he's learning it and also playing alongside players that are also learning their trades in that position and learning other roles in the team. So at this stage, is it not somewhat as detrimental to him almost? I mean, I sort of made this point on Twitter the other day, like in the case of Callum By, Hartigan as well, Nesta as well. They are literally just being thrown in at this point. And as much as it's good for young players to experience men's football, we've had this conversation before, and getting games under their belt, and that's how they're going to learn. At the same token, do they not need to learn in sort of stages? As it stands at the moment, they're just constantly in the team and making mistakes. And is that going to benefit them really in the long run?
Well, you're right. We've touched on this before, where normally these players at this age would be loaned out, and they would make their mistakes at other clubs lower down the pyramid. If you look at France, say Tommy Wood's gone out to Leatherhead, hasn't he?
Leatherhead,
yeah. But he'll make his mistakes, so that's where his trade. He's learning his trade and so forth. But you've got a lot of players that are learning their trade and now learning their trade in a very difficult situation. If you look at Will, what we're looking at, Will's probably hitting now close to 73 league games. So he hasn't even hit 100 league games at the moment. But he is being, leading by example, trying his best to do that. And actually, his performances have been quite good. But yes, we need the other players have got. Will they learn from it? I don't know how much fun you get out of losing games. If you look at Trot, France 8, yes, he will get experience of. He'll have a lot of activity this year. But if you look at the others, I don't really know what they're learning. And at the moment, my biggest worry always when Wally said that he was going to go young with players, and I did ask a question at Meet the Manager about would you get experienced players in to support him, and he dismissed that and said no, we're going to go young and hungry. And I'm no expert at football, I've just got an opinion, but I worried that that where's France 8, where is Callum By going to look up to, where is Nesta going to look up to, where are they going to, what players are they going to go to get inspiration? Because at the moment, as you rightly said, we've got players like O'Neill and stuff like that. O'Neill's 28, so he's the one of the most experienced, but he's struggling with his own game at the moment. So he's all of a sudden got to take on that weight of being that not father figure, but the adult in the changing room. Yeah, his performance is going to start dripping down, because being bottom of the league, and we are bottom, we're bottom 4, bottom 3, ain't fun. Much as your manager comes out and says we're not far away from the first wing, it ain't any fun, and your form does get affected.
Well, the point with young players on Twitter again made me, if I get my words out, wanted to just investigate this a little bit further. So Tim Lloyd, when I made my point on Twitter, Tim Lloyd replied, and he just asked, so maybe Ardley was right in holding back the youngsters, as they simply aren't good enough. And it just got me thinking about the young players and the situation, because there was a big hoo-ha when Wally first came in about he started to bring in academy players that had come through. And everyone was giving him lots of credit and saying, oh, look, they were good enough. Why didn't Neil put them in? Why was Neil so reserved in giving these young players a chance? I'm looking at it, and people have sort of taken this as read now, that Wally's giving our young players a chance. I'm not sure he is. It's Callum By, yes, absolutely. But who else? Because Toby Civic, who had got a good run last season, he was already in the team under Neil. Anthony Hartigan has been in the team for a couple of seasons under Neil. Will Nightingale was wanted to be a key part under Neil, and injuries delayed that, but he was when he came in. Who else is there? I think it's a little bit of a myth, to be honest with you. And you look at some of the other young players that have people are saying we should give them a chance, and actually it's been proven that they've not been good enough. The likes of Alfie Egan, for example, Tyler Bury's gone off. Kaji, you could argue, I'm not sure what happened there, but really it's just Callum Baye, isn't it?
Yeah, so it is Callum Baye. I suppose Hartigan wasn't always a starter, a permanent starter under Neil. I think Neil did drop him out quite a bit. But then the argument is actually what has done similar things. As we know, he literally was out of the squad completely the other week. I think what Waddy has done is that he's actively given contracts to academy players. I think maybe it's a different angle in terms of we didn't see loads from the academy get contracts, but that could be a nature of the beast, the fact that we don't have a lot of money. So it could actually not necessarily be Waddy going, well, I'm going to, these academy players, I'm going to believe in them and give them good contracts, 2-3 year contracts, and really feel make them feel valued and make them part of the squad. Is that, like I say, a victim of the fact we don't have a lot of money, so actually we've got to beef the numbers up? But then the argument is Neil did that as well. Neil did put players on the bench who were youth players. He just didn't necessarily trust them and play them. But it does make last thing we want to do on the podcast is become the Neil Ardie lovers, because we get grief enough anyway for that. But you have to go back and actually think, not that he was right, but you can maybe say there was a concern that they wouldn't necessarily be able to hold their own. But yeah, I think it's because what he has naturally gone out and said, I want young players. He's come out on record and said that. But at the moment, to me, I'm not overly comfortable. I think we're, to answer your question a bit earlier, I think we're doing some damage to these players. I really do. They need to have rest. They need to be taken out of the firing line. At the moment, Nesta can't be taken out of the firing line because who else plays left back? I think Ron McDonald was going to be the left back cover, but he's now injured, isn't he? Now for another 6 weeks.
Do we look at formation change then? Because you're right. I mean, Delaney could play left back. We could go 4-4-2. Put Delaney left back. Callum Baye still has to play, but you could have Will Tyrrell centre half maybe. Luke O'Neill right back. Or am I talking crazy? Is Wally going to stick 3-5-2 forever and a day?
He's not gone away from 3-5-2. The only time he went away from 3-5-2 was in the first half of the League Cup game. That's the only time he's ever gone away from 3-5-2 in terms of a starting formation. Yes, he has made substitutions. He did a substitution on Tuesday night that changed the formation, but his tried and tested is 3-5-2. The problem is now he's openly gone on record and said the reason he went and got rid of Connolly was because Connolly wouldn't be getting a chance in the formation that we've come across and going to play this season. I wasn't a lover of letting Connolly go. I said that to you. Purely because I felt he gave us a different option if we wanted to play a different formation. But what he's gone, like I say, he's gone on record to say that the reason that Connolly went is because of that. So while he's quite a stubborn, and managers are all stubborn, Neil Ardie was a stubborn manager, didn't have plan B, which he got enough grief about, and he didn't change his formation and the tactics, and but what he's doing all the same things. That's just a stubbornness of a manager, but he's got to do something different, because if you keep losing game after game after game, you've got to start looking at things. If you change the personnel, if you can't change the personnel because your squad's not, big enough, then surely the way you play is that we've got enough time on the training ground now. We had enough time the week before. He's coaching those players, so there has to be something that he's got to do, if he seriously believes that the win is just round the corner. If he seriously believes that, then he sticks to his guns. I don't believe the win's around the corner.
You're quite right when you said earlier we don't want to get into the whole Neil Ardley blah, 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 blah. But what I would say is, at this point, there's literally no difference, is there, from last season to this season, in terms of the amount of criticism Neil used to get for the standard of football on offer and the negativity and the defensive performances. It's just the same, isn't it?
It is. It's just dressed up differently. I understand, Waddy's, for a lot of people, Waddy was the player that was sort of the manager they wanted. That's fine. There's no problem at all with that. But it does seem to me to be a little bit of a maybe not seeing that what people are saying now or defending Wally was the same that people were defending Neil on. I accept that Neil had to go. There is no doubt about that. I'm not saying we made the wrong decision and we probably waited too long last year. But that then begs the question, how long do you wait this year? Or do you not? Do you not do anything? I would go on record and happily say Waddy's job should not be in danger. It should not be in danger. Not in September. Not 7 weeks into a season. Should not be in danger because he's got a chance to change it. If he will. If he sticks to what he's doing, it sort of suggests if you keep doing the same things and it doesn't work, it don't work. But yeah, I had a quick look. If we look at the 9 league games last season, we had 8 points last year from 9 league games. I know people who are listening are going to be going, yeah, but we played a lot more tougher teams this year than we did last year. I actually looked at it. I looked at an average. So if you look at an average of the teams we played last year, there was an average of 10th position. So we played, I think Barnsley was second at the time. We played Sunderland. So I think we played 4 or 5 teams that were in the top 10. This year, had a bit of a tougher one in terms of the average position is 8th. But it's only on average, there's only 2 league positions that are different. Of course, I'm going on last season, I'm going on the end of the season league table, which you could probably say is a more accurate, because we're saying at the moment that these teams are all in the top, the teams we played at the moment are going to be top 5. We don't know that. We don't know that at the moment. Chances are Ipswich and Sunderland are going to be there, but we don't know that for a fact.
Wycombe won't be.
Well, will Coventry be there on that side of it? But I think what the interesting thing is if you look at comparisons, then we're in a lot of a better position under Neil than we are under Wally. We all know though from I think the last one we had from Will was on last Will under Neil Ardley was on match day 10. I'm not going to count Haringey because that's a cup game, and then we had a 7, 8, 9 match losing run, didn't we, when Neil lost his job? So all I'm saying now is we've only got 3 points from 9 league games, and we haven't got a win. So you have to say the next month is probably quite key. But equally, I don't really know if do we need to sack another manager? I'm not. You know me. I've gone on record as saying you shouldn't sack a manager. Just the first thing coming in your head. Let's get rid of the manager. It's the easiest target. But we need to know from the board: is it a case that Waddy can do whatever he wants within reason? And we're going to stick by him. That's fine. It would take away all this social media stuff of hanging the manager out to dry. That would take it all away in one go if the board would communicate. But as we said last year, the board are quiet. They were quiet last year under Eric. We now need to see under Joe whether they'll come out and give us a message. Not saying the dreaded vote of confidence. Waddy doesn't need that. He's long enough old enough in the tooth on that. But something's got to change, or some message has got to be given.
Don't remind me of that last season. Didn't we have the vote of confidence and a week later on Neil was out of a job? Not far
away from that, was it? Eric
it
did
was
that,
it was such a messy situation in the end, but hey. Oh well, it's gone. Do you know what? When we go back to last season, I think of Neil Ardley, part of my reasoning because we were very pro Neil, as you know, and you said there he had to go in the end. But do you know what? Part of my argument in not getting rid of Neil was the fact that, and it seems to be a lot of people have accepted it this season, is that we were such a small team in a big division that we were always going to struggle. And I didn't think anyone could particularly do a better job than Neil was doing. Now, people will say, well, he did do a better job because he kept us up and Neil was doing a terrible job at the time. And I understand that. That's fair enough. And I can't really argue about it. Wally did keep us up. But I'm just going to chuck the name Aaron Ramsdale out there and say, if you're looking for why we stayed up last season, I'm going to say Aaron Ramsdale. But also what you look with the whole Neil Ardley leaving situation was the list of candidates to replace him was possibly the thinnest in the history of a managerial appointment ever. And we said Wally was the best name on that list. And again, I'm in the same situation. Who can do a better job than Wally at the moment in time? I'm not sure. I don't think there is one at this current moment in time. So we just have to get on with it. But I must make the point, budget cannot be used as an excuse because it wasn't allowed over the past 3 years. So why should it be allowed now?
Yeah, and I think Neil had to go, not necessarily because of the fans, but he had to go because he'd lost the confidence of his own ability. Neil was a broken man. It was an obvious thing. Will is a very strong individual, and Wally
Will is as well.
Wally is a very strong individual, and he doesn't look like he's lost his senses or any side of that. He's very much in control of that. But it isn't, the Neil Hardy thing. Yeah, budget, we shouldn't be mentioning into it. I think, Ramsdale, we joke on the Sunday radio show, we do a dinger for when Ramsdale is mentioned. Of course, when Salah Taylor is mentioned, we do that as well. Ramsdale was great last year, but I think I wouldn't want to take away the influence that Waddy and Glynn had, because that was near enough mission impossible last year. And I fully get that they now deserve the support of the player, of the fans in this difficult period, and that's why I'm fully behind them. But it doesn't excuse the fact if you keep doing the same things and the same things don't get you wins and don't get you anywhere near a win, then the sign of madness is you keep doing the same things. Isn't it the whole thing of insanity to keep doing the same things over and over again? That's what we're close to doing now. So something's got to give. I don't know what other formations we can play. We're top heavy on forwards. What he said in his interview, we've got a lot of forwards on the bench. They're all very much the same. Can we do a Peter Shilton trick and just basically hang them from the crossbar and someone just holds on to them for a training session, just so we can get maybe Felipe a bit bigger, taller, because no one can get the ball.
Yeah, we've spoken a lot in generalities so far this week, and I kind of want to add one more generality, if I can say the word, which for some reason I can't. But you've mentioned a player there, so we should go on to some of the more specific elements of the last couple of games. And as disappointing as that second half against Shrewsbury was, the first half was at least encouraging. Best we've played all season against Shrewsbury. And should we have had a penalty at 1-0 up?
John, I've looked at it back a couple of times, and I don't think it's a dead Stonewall penalty. I really don't. And the reason I
think it's Stonewall, but I think there's a shout for one.
There's a shout, but I think it's the angle that the Shrewsbury player comes in. So I think the angle he comes in, he doesn't come in from behind. I think he whips his foot around it. And then his training leg looks like, training leg takes him out, but he gets the ball first. The thing is, what angle did he come in from? It's very difficult to see the angle. You could argue that we probably weren't as clinical as we should. Force should have been all over that and just knocked it in. He sort of, in a way, looked like he thought he was going to have a tap in, and the defender was just a bit quicker. But yeah, it's a good shout, and also it's a rubbish referee who normally gives you everything. But yeah, I could on hand and heart say it was a definite pen.
I've got to talk about the referee because you mentioned him. Okay, the referee was poor, but honestly, the loudest Kingsmeadow got on Saturday was to have a go at the official, which is troubling for me on many levels. One, it was our best first half performance of the season, our best performance of the season of any 45 minutes, I think, better than Ipswich. And there was no noise. It was like you could hear a pin drop until the referee was it not towards the end of the half when Nesta got booked? Because hilariously, everyone was yelling at they had a counter-attack on, and everyone was yelling at Nesta, just make a foul. Just foul him. Nesta didn't manage to foul him, but the referee thought he had and booked him anyway, which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
and then about a minute later, their player committed a foul on the other side and didn't get booked for it, and everyone was yelling at. And that was the most animated the crowd got. So not only does it seem that we weren't really responding to the team in an affectionate way, in a positive way, because of the good performance they were putting in, but it also, I know I bang on about this, but it winds me up so much, is that officials just have an impossible job because people just want to moan and vent at the first opportunity to have a go at a referee. And it's like, just give it a rest. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, Stu, I can only think of one decision, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, that you could argue had an impact on the way the season has panned out as a whole for us. And that was in our favour when, what's-his-name, blew up as the ball, Accrington had a shot and it was travelling into the net.
Yeah.
Like, you finished, did Man City, who won the league last season? Who won the Premier League? Manchester City. Is anyone arguing with that? Did a referee win them that? I don't think so. On the end of the day, it's all determined on the merits of your performances. And so I'm sick and tired of referee just constantly being the go-to thing for people.
It's always been the way, though, isn't it? You know, in terms of, I think that's why a lot of people in the Premiership moan now, because VAR has taken away that moaning element.
I don't know.
A lot of players,
I don't know.
well, we can moan over VAR decisions, but I remember early on, and they were saying, you know, the great thing about, I think there's some pundits, can't remember who it was now, but they were saying the best thing about football is that we have an opinion on and we have a disagreement on decisions. VAR, is potentially going to take that out. I agree with you. I know what you're going to say, not as necessarily the Premiership. Although in the Champions League, just to quickly go on the Champions League highlights, VAR was used quite well in some situations, especially where the referee got sent a red card and actually on reflection watched the screen and gave a yellow. And I wonder, it was really weird actually. There's two things I saw on the Champions League, not to go away too much on it. One was a player who got sent off, and then there was a VAR review. Referee went to the screen, but the actual player who had been sent off stayed on the pitch, waiting to see whether it was going to be done, which made me chuckle. Because you've got a player who's been sent off, and he can't go down the tunnel and hide in shame because he's not yet know if it's been correct. And the second one was Alf-Inge Haaland's son, who plays for Salzburg now. Is that right? Scored a hat trick on Tuesday night, and on his hat trick goal, it was a ball across the box. He actually didn't celebrate. His teammates were around him to celebrate a goal, and he actually put his hands out, looking at the linesman and waiting for the decision to be confirmed before he celebrated his goal. I did say that would happen eventually. We've had private conversations, haven't we? It will get to a stage, but we won't celebrate until then. But I've gone off a little bit on that. But in terms of the referee decision, if anyone wants to have a really good, interesting watch, BT have got a film out called The Referee, and it follows some really really low-level referees, and it does show you how difficult the job is. I wouldn't be a referee.
Where can you watch that documentary? Is that one of their YouTube ones?
On BT Sports. So if you go to the BT Sports website, there's two. If you're bored or if you just love your football, there's two I've watched. The Gaffer, which is a series of managers. So you've got John Steele, who, trust me, I've never seen anyone swear so much in a film.
You didn't hear the edited version or the unedited version of last week's podcast.
Yeah, they follow him. I follow a few managers, and they basically just show you what a day in a manager is like. And the referee follows around 4 or 5 different referees. One's a lady referee. Actually, no, two are a lady referee. And it shows you actually how much grief these referees get at Sunday League level. And it's about respecting the referee. I think that's what I would say. Yes, referees will make mistakes. Some are better than others. We don't have very good referees in League One, but that's why they're in League One, isn't it? But yeah, Kings Meadow. I think it's just a Kings Meadow effect, isn't it? I think everyone just doesn't really care too much about it. Football. How many wins have we seen at Kings Meadow in the last 3 years? I'll probably put on two. Probably
4.
Count. Yes, I was going to say count on 2 hands. But yeah, the only.
Sorry. Go on.
Well, I thought you could count on 2 hands, but if you're saying 4, then it's obviously on 1. But yeah, the only time people moan about it is, you're right, referee decisions. And the only other noise I hear is when they announce the away fans' attendance.
Our fans love it.
They're the only two
our fans
noises that
love that moment.
And the thing is, we've been discussing this, haven't we? Is saying, are people clapping the attendance or the away attendance? I'm sorry, but I've been looking every home game, and it is definitely fans who are clapping the away attendance. I'm sorry, I'm old school. I don't give a monkeys who travels. I ain't clapping them. They don't need my support or applause for them getting up and coming all the way down to Kings Meadow. Good luck to them, but I ain't going to clap them. I don't like that. Ran over.
Football fans enjoy going to watch football. They like, a good number of football fans like travelling to an away game to watch their football. Why are we clapping them for this?
I understand if the football club board are on their feet applauding them, because that's extra money into the club. They're the only people trying. Thank you for paying £20 for a rubbish view over there. Thank you.
Do they need a round of applause for it? Just a thank you. Thanks.
It's just something that's crept in, isn't it? And hey, look, maybe I'm just old school. I've been going football long enough now, but I don't really like. Look, do you know what? In 90 minutes, I don't like the away fans. I don't want to like them. You know, that's a problem with unfortunately our squad. Our squad don't tend to dislike anybody. I don't want to like the away fans. I don't want to like their players whilst they're playing against us. After it, if they've scored a good goal, I'll quite happily give them a round of applause or say well done. I think we can all accept. players that have played well. But in those 90 minutes, I don't like them, and I don't like the away fans. I hope they get wet. I hope they get cold. I hope they just don't have a really nice experience.
And on that note, we've gone way off. That started, I think, discussing about whether or not we should have been 2-0 up against Shrewsbury with a penalty and a missed chance.
I'm not talking about football. Why do we want to talk about football? We're bottom of the league. Well, we're not.
Stu, we did spend quite a lot of time on this podcast in previous seasons discussing anything other than football. People weren't too happy with it. The other thing about that Shrewsbury game is we do have to discuss. We have not mentioned it. Why was that second half so poor?
I don't know why most second half so poor. It's a really what he was always when he come in, didn't he? He basically said, it's not about winning a game, it's about winning a half. He made it a very big thing about it, didn't he? Winning the first half, winning the second half. We've got the first bit right because we win most first halves. I just don't know what it is. It's of course naturally in this league, managers are not all stupid, so they do change formations. They do look, and most managers were going at half time. And that's the time when they will get their message across. I don't know what it is. Are we complacent? Do we just not know how to kill a game off? We're not very streetwise. We know that. Do you know what I mean? We're not the old Stevenage where you just basically go down and fall over. How many times do we ever see, and I'm not saying this should happen, but how many times do we see us break up the play? Do you see Nesta rolling around or basically saying he's got cramp? And I think, and I might be wrong on this, I'm just off the top of my head, but I'm wondering actually how many times Stuart Douglas comes onto a pitch during a game. Because we don't tend to break games up. It's the old school thing, isn't it? But I don't understand why a 19 or 20-year-old doesn't understand that, because we all see it in the Premiership. They're the arts of killing the game off, aren't they? But I don't know what it is. Do the teams just change their formations? Shrewsbury matched us up, didn't they? Played a bit higher up the pitch, forced us to go long, which happens quite a lot. I don't know. It's one of the most frustrating things about us is our second half. I don't understand it. Do we just change our routine at half time? Do we, for argument's sake, at half time, do the players go out to their car, sit in their car for a bit, and then come back in and pretend the game started again? I don't know. We've got to try and do something.
I thought, though, from what I was hearing, the second half on Tuesday night against Coventry was actually better. In terms of the first half seemed to get away from us after we scored early. But the second half, we seemed to subdue them. And to be honest with you, I was saying to you before we started recording, I was sat here already thinking to a win over Bristol Rovers on Saturday and 5-point week. Because it just seemed like Coventry had completely run out of ideas.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
So why was that second half better? Did we keep the ball better? Did we offer more of an attacking threat? What was it?
I'll be truthful, I don't know. I really don't know. Coventry weren't as effective as they were in the first half. They cut. We sort of pressed high in the first half. We played as two separate teams. We had half a team that were pressing high and the other team that were sort of dropping off. But we did seem to nullify the game. Coventry sort of run out of a bit of energy, if I'm being honest with you. They run out of a bit of know-how, and we were comfortable. Nothing was really happening. And I think that's the problem. Nothing. We made two subs. We bought Piggott and Kwesi and I don't know who we bought.
We did.
Kwesi and
Piggott
on, didn't we? Sorry,
because we started with Force and Felivi.
Yeah, I doubted myself for a minute because I can't remember seeing Kwesi on the pitch. Not that he didn't do anything. It's just the way it sort of turned out, and what he's gone on record saying that he bought them on to stop Coventry coming out so easy.
Which, in fairness, is exactly what we were crying out for him to do away to Ipswich.
Yeah, the goal is
when we went the other way.
Yeah, you're right. Coventry, if you compare Coventry and Ipswich are in a different league in terms of performance-wise than Coventry. Coventry, great first half, very quick, very mobile, play well, playing some risky football. The penalty we got was basically because they wanted to play out from the back. That's good. I don't mind teams doing that because actually, more time, you're going to get yourself in trouble, and they did, and we got, we were fortunate to get a penalty. Well, not fortunate, but we got a penalty, a cheap penalty. I don't know. Is it a case that we could just sense that point? It was a very good point at Coventry. Team is top. Yeah, you go to a team that's top. It's a very good point. The goal, though, is just so frustrating. It's not errors. For me, it's not errors. It's just a bit of streetwise. And the frustrating thing is, it comes from Joe Piggott and Wexner in terms of they both had opportunities to break it up. So if you look at the second goal against Coventry, the winner for Coventry, Joe Pigott is actually trying to break his stride to stop taking the player out. If you look at him, he checks his stride because he's going to clash with the player and probably foul him.
And do you know what else about Joe Pigott is? He gives up.
Well, he doesn't go, does he? He doesn't.
He doesn't keep running. He should keep running, and he doesn't.
So you could argue that one we should have stopped it there. And then when he played the ball off and then went for the return, Scott Wagstaff. It's difficult. I don't want to moan at him, but what he follows, he looks at where the ball is. But actually, if he just hold his ground, block the player off. Yes,
exactly.
They'd have had a free kick, of course. Free kick for 25 yards. They had a free kick about 5 minutes earlier, and it just went past the post. But it's just sometimes going, stop the danger. You're in the 92nd minute. You've all worked really hard to get to a position of getting a point, which would have been, I know we haven't won yet, but actually on reflection, a point would have been really good there. But we just haven't done the things that footballers do, And I think Waddy hasn't come out and said it, but I think Will near enough has. When Will is. For me, it's a very interesting contrast between the Wally interview after Coventry and the Will interview after Coventry, because Waddy's is very much about, the players are really kicking themselves in there, but we've done enough, we played well. Will is apologising. He's basically going, this is not good enough. He said that himself. He said, for me and collectively, it's not good enough. We've got to be better. And you can bet your bottom dollar, that goal is just... It's a good goal from Coventry, but it's a goal. We had opportunities to break it up and kill the attack.
One win in 16 games is indeed not good enough. We could talk for hours about this, Stu. We really could. We probably shouldn't. I just want to say Felivi. In fact, before we get on to Felivi, I just thought I'd do some statistical analysis. Actually, that's reminded me, because as we just mentioned there a minute ago, with the substitutions, Force and Felivi were the strike partnership that started against Coventry, and I thought about it. I thought we've changed the front two quite a lot this season. It chops and changes every week. So I just thought I'd look at the statistics, and listeners, you're going to catch on to this joke very, very quickly. I looked at statistics for the strike partnerships that have started our games so far this season, Stu, and here's what I have unearthed. So, strike partnership started with Felivi and Pigott. When they have started together, we have got 0 wins. When we've started with Apaya and Pigott, we have got 0 wins. Apaya and Felivi, 0 wins. Pigott and Force, 0 wins. Force and Felivi, 0 wins. What I would say is Michael Force has played less than 2 games. In terms of minutes played, he's played less than 2 games. He's our joint top scorer, alongside Kwesi, who's not scored in September, and own goal.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Felivi chance, if he scores that chance on Tuesday night, free header 6 yards from goal, we go 2-0 up. Do we then get a win?
Hey, look, a 2-0 lead away from home that's a big ask for Coventry, in terms of how do they react to it. You can't say that we were going to win the game from there, but crikey, a 2-0 lead, you would hope that we would have a really good chance of at least getting a draw from that. Let's not kid ourselves, though. Coventry had some good chances. They missed a one-on-one late after they equalised, and they had an excellent. They had a chance that was an excellent save from Trott. It was an excellent save low down to his right. So let's not say Coventry did have chances. The Felivi header, actually, the ball from Antti Hartigan was just excellent. In terms of it was worked out from the wide angle, played in the Hartigan quite forcefully, and he picked out a pass. The thing with a Felivi header, it's sort of like, and I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but it was too good an opportunity. It was one of those ones thinking, I'm free on my own, I must be offside. Then the ball's coming at a certain height where technically he might have even been able to chest it and do something, but it was all a little bit like, he must be offside. I think everyone in that thing would be thinking, But his heading is not his strongest point. You'd hope it would have gone to Force. After the header he scored the other week, you'd have hoped it had gone to him. But your partnerships, you're right. We're just trying to. It seems we're trying to chuck as many different formations together, aren't we? In terms of up front, but I don't know what your best partnership is, to be truthful. I don't think it involves Kwesi Appiah. I think I'd be amazed if Force doesn't have some contractual thing that if we don't start him or he plays so many minutes that we end up playing penalties financially. Brentford wouldn't have let him come from to sit on the bench. So you sort of sense that it's Force and one other. Although what we did see against Coventry is that Force does have a little bit of a niggly side to him. The reason he come off for Roscoe wasn't because he was poor. It was because he was probably on a final warning from getting a second yellow card. So, but then I'm never going to moan about that. I like people with a bit of a niggle. I like that.
We all do. That's how we got to where we are. Like I said to you before, like we don't get promoted without the niggle of like Lyle and Danny Borman and players like that. We don't get promoted from the conference without a niggle of Danny Keddle and Jamie Stewart, Barry Fuller and all these players. It's always been a key element of being Wimbledon, hasn't it? Yeah. Let's not try and deny our history or our roots there. That's part of what we are. It's part of where we've come from, and it's part of why we've done so well. So it's kind of very sad to see that having disappeared from this current squad, as exemplified, as we have already touched on, with that second goal on Tuesday night, where it just needed someone to trip someone up or block them off and be smart. We seem to have lost that element, but hey. Oh, well. To round this up, because we're running late.
But sounding great.
Who do you think had the... I should just say, sorry, I should touch on Falevi, by the way. No, to finish on this. He's not a goal scorer. We've said this a million times before. That's the problem with Falevi. Very good player. Craig Tanner Mark II will not score goals.
He is, but let's not worry. We've got Wordsworth coming back soon, so that it'll be. And I'm being very flippant by that, but I'm hearing a lot of people going, "Well, when Wordsworth's back, it will be all different." If we're banking on one player who hasn't played all season, has had injuries, then I worry about that, a little bit of optimism, because I think Falevi could play that Wordsworth role quite well in behind a front one or front two.
Got to get the ball to Wordsworth, and that means passing the ball on the floor, which we don't do enough of. So,
yes,
contrary to what you may have been told. Good week. Who in our squad then? Who had the best week for us?
I found it difficult because, of course, he didn't win. I know it's the same thing all season. I felt
we never win.
I've gone for Will Nightingale just because I felt he had a decent game against Shrewsbury. I think he had a really good game at Coventry. Really did lead by example as a captain, and basically because he's come out and it didn't need an apology, but I won't. I'm glad he did. Do you know what I mean? Will just looked like he gave a monkeys. Do you know what I mean? He looked like he gave a damn about what was going on. So Will is my good week.
I was told off for asking for an apology the other week, I'm just saying. And then a player comes out and gives an apology and everyone goes, "Oh, well done." I'm just like, hold on. I was told last week when I said we should get an apology, you were all like, no, why should they apologise?
He didn't need it, but it was welcome.
Absolutely was it welcome. It was good. Someone just... Do you know what? I must say this, though. So on the video of Will's interview, I think the video is titled something like Honest Comments from Will, which by implication means that every other interview that is put out is lying to us.
Oh, trust you to think of from that angle.
Well, but it's true. Honest was the wrong word to use in that situation, because it does... What it basically means is that everything that we've been said up until this point is all lies and fluff and spin, whereas this is the honest part of it. Maybe if it was something like candid, maybe, comments like that would be a better word. But honest sort of gave the wrong impression to me. But anyway, who had the worst week for us? I've got two nominations for this, which I'm not sure if you'd agree with or not.
Mine was quite obvious to me, was Gary O'Neill. Sorry,
Why
Gary O'Neill, because he never played for us. Luke O'Neill.
Oh, right. It's a really bad week because you don't even know his name.
Oh, dear, Luke O'Neill. And I give two reasons. Goal against Shrewsbury, knocks a diag into an area that is just nobody and then gets done in behind, and sort of, unfortunately looked like he was running in quicksand. And also then for the first goal against Coventry, trying to play offside on a ball. Rule of thumb, don't play offside when a ball is not even being challenged. If there's no press on the pass, don't play offside. And he was behind two centre-halves. Although Delaney didn't get much credit because he was also behind his centre-halves, and it looks like he played on the guy on the side. But I just think 2 goals, Luke O'Neill was not great in both of those goals this week.
My suggestions for this were going to be Mitch Pinnock and Shane McLaughlin.
What have they done to you?
Well, they've not done anything to me, but they're not in the squad at the moment, and I don't think they're getting back in. So I think they've got...
They're not injured?
I don't think they're injured. I think Wally doesn't think they're very good.
So Thomas should be on that list as well, then?
Thomas was on the bench, though.
Oh, I'll give you that.
He was on Tuesday night.
We didn't know why he missed Saturday. Not we should be told. We're not important. Okay. Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? You know, Pinnock doesn't suit the formation. It doesn't suit a 3-5-2. McLaughlin, he's really frustrating. Come in and we thought, coming from Ipswich, coming in the back end, well, not the back end, coming, January, February time last year?
Yeah, same time as Connolly, roughly.
We actually raved about him, didn't we? You know, got the ball, done a simple thing, gave it to a person that was better than him. But all of a sudden, he just doesn't seem to be involved, when actually we're crying out for that sort of player in the middle. But whenever he's come on this season, he hasn't looked the same player he was last year. I can understand why he picked them too.
I think McLaughlin, if I'm being honest with you, he had a few good games, but I think that last 6 games or whatever, he went to pieces. Oxford away. Last week I mentioned about Callum Riley having a shocking half against that lot on TV, but McLaughlin at Oxford, my word, was that like the worst cameo appearance of any Wimbledon player ever? But anyway, I wouldn't surprise me if Pinnock and McLaughlin were being looked at, trying to get them out in the same way that Connolly went during the towards the end of the transfer window. Can we loan any players
out now? Can we? I don't know what the rules are now. Have we missed?
No, we can't do it now. But what I mean is, like, Connolly went to Bradford on loan, didn't he? So it wouldn't have surprised me if Pinnock and McLaughlin, people were looking at getting them a similar move, but they couldn't find or couldn't make it work.
Yeah,
that's me making a complete guess, and someone will tell me no, they were always going to stay with us, but they're not in the matchday squads at the moment, and you have to think
nowhere near it.
No. Okay, let's move on. With all that said, we've got Bristol Rovers. Okay, on Monday I guaranteed all our Twitter followers, guaranteed we were going to win at Coventry, because it was 100% home record versus 0%, 0 points, 100% losing away record. I thought that can't continue. Law of averages, 9 games without winning, can't happen. Lo and behold, it did. So, But this week I am guaranteeing us 3 points, because we cannot go 10 league games into a season without a win. That's just ridiculous. And Bristol Rovers are a good opponent to have, despite our record against them not being very good whatsoever. So, they are currently 12th. They are as inconsistent as Shrewsbury were this time last week. They have won 3, drawn 3, and lost 3. Do you know there are only 7 teams in this division that have actually played the full complement of 9 games so far this season? And Bristol Rovers are one of them, as well as ourselves. Last week, their 1-0 win at Lincoln was their only away win this season, only away point this season, and only away goal this season. So it's safe to say, away from home, they're not very good, because that, if you saw that, was a penalty that they got at Lincoln, which was never a penalty. It was the softest penalty award in history. And saying all this, like I said, our record against them is not great. We've played each other 19 times. We've won 4 of them. It's not good. And they do have, in Johnson Clark-Harris, someone who does score goals, in fairness. 5 goals this season. So I'm guaranteeing a win just because of the law of averages. I mean, logic tells you we'll have a game similar to last season. It'll be another draw. But what say you, Stu?
Excuse me. Yeah, it's an interesting one. When you look back, they play 3-5-2 very much like we do as well. So you're right, they play Clark-Harris up front. It's a decent team, actually. When you look through it, it's a decent team. They're good at home. I hate giving these predictions at the moment, because if I'm being honest with you, I don't feel a win is that close to us at the moment. And I don't like Bristol. I've said this before. I just don't like Bristol Rovers.
You have an irrational hatred of Bristol Rovers.
I don't like them. I can't make any... There's no rationale for it. I just don't like them. But yeah, Bristol Rovers got a good record against us. I see the best us getting is a draw. I know fans are going to be like, what are you on about? But I just don't see it. I don't see a win coming on Saturday. And when you look at our fixtures going into October, that worries me, because we've got some tough games coming up. I know we've had tough games already. I know we played all the teams that are in the top 5, but there are tougher games to come. So really, Bristol is the Bristol Rovers home game and the Rochdale home game, and then the 6-pointer of all 6-pointers against Southend coming up. We've got to get a win sooner or later, because it ain't going to be against Peterborough. So, but I don't see it coming Saturday. I see it being a goalless or 1-1 draw.
this said and all the comments we've made and everything that's gone this week, do you know what part of me was thinking the other day? Do you know what? Despite this horrendous run we're on, we've not really learned anything we didn't already know. We knew this season was going to be a struggle. We knew we were going to be in the bottom 6, bottom 7, and that's where we are. So now we're in a situation where, really, do you actually genuinely think we could go down this season?
Yes, easily.
Okay.
Easily. You know, we've all been going to football long enough. You and I definitely. I know you're still young, but we've seen enough teams play at Kings Meadow, and you see all the things that then you see combinations of things that are not very good, and playing long aimless balls, not having effective forwards, having a young team, all those sort of things. It just you've seen the signs, and we are very. I don't want to say clueless, but we're not very good. We're not very good. We've gone through enough times what our weaknesses are. Do you know what I mean? Every other team sees it. I said to you against Shrewsbury, they played 2 up against us. I can't remember the last time I've seen 2 forwards come up against us, because normally there's a bit of respect of actually, we'll go 1. But they matched us up. They went with 2 forwards. And I was like, that tells you a little bit, because normally, I say, it's like, well, we get a point here. That's a good point. Everyone's coming to our place to win. And why wouldn't they? But I think this team is easily capable of getting relegated. I know people are going, well, let's hope Bolton are weaker. Let's hope Southend are weaker, Rochdale's and stuff like that. I see Bolton finishing above us. Call me mad. I see them finishing above us, because I think they've got their first point at home to Oxford on Tuesday night. That's their first point. So that takes away that.
Second point.
Sorry, second point. They got another point, didn't they, at Coventry?
I think at home to Coventry.
They were. I think they were away. They were at Birmingham. So they got a point. So they've already got 1 point extra than us against Coventry than what we did. But I think we're hoping that there's worse teams. That tells you enough to tell you how fans think.
Yeah, a little bit of a worry. I think that I've got Accrington, who are going to be down there. Tranmere have only got 1 win, and that was against Bolton. Southend look in an absolute state, but they're scoring goals, which we aren't doing. I think I thought we'd stay out this season, but it was going to be horrendous to watch. It is horrendous to watch. It's worse. It is worse to watch than it's ever been. But whether or not that, I don't know. I think we might just have enough with... Since Force has come in, Force is a bit of a shining light hope for me, because there's energy and there's goals in there.
But you know what? I haven't... People may say I'm being harsh here, but I haven't been blown away by him. I haven't been like...
No, but it's early days for him.
You can against Shrewsbury, he did a bit of... he was on the edge of the area and he went one way, went the other way and got a shot off. It didn't go on target, but you sort of you could tell in the player he was that he wants to get a shot off and get wherever it is from. But I haven't been blown away by his performances. But on the equal side of that, he's had different partners since he's joined. So it's sort of going he's not going to do an individual. He's not going to win a game on his own. I don't believe. But yeah, we need to get the best out of him.
If we want to stay up, yes.
And Sanders, where's he gone?
Got a knock against that lot, didn't he? And I suppose not being risked. But hey, look, Riley, Wagstaff, Hartigan are our midfield 3. Sanders starts. Who drops out?
Well, you say your playmaker is Hartigan. However, I don't see what O'Reilly does. I really don't.
That Irishman, yes. Callum O'Reilly.
Well, I don't see what he does. I really don't. Put a great ball in for the header at their place. But apart from that, I just don't generally see what he does. Maybe he just does so much off the ball that you just don't notice it until he's not there. I'll hazard a guess to try and find out what he's like when he's not there. So, I know...
Find out what he's like when he's not there.
Yeah, I know. That sounded me backward, didn't it? You know what I mean? Sometimes you get players like Makaleli and stuff like that. Is actually they're so good off the ball that it's only when they're not playing you realise how good they are. I'm not comparing by any stretch O'Reilly with Makaleli. But what I'm saying is, if I was going to say it, I'd probably put Sanders in there. Although at the moment Wagstaff, all that energy, but just never seems to be with the ball. It's a difficult thing. I find it very difficult to try and have a go at the midfield because I think they are a midfield that are not suited to how we play, and they're not ball winners. They're not. I just think it's unfair to go to midfield at the moment, really, if I'm being truthful, because I don't think our formation and tactics actually do them any favours whatsoever.
Nick's done every second countdowns then to finish because we are so late. Stu, this week we're talking about Bristol Rovers. I thought back to our first game back in the Football League in 2011 after 9 years was against Bristol Rovers at Kingsmeadow. We lost 3-2. I would just like as many names from the team that started that game that day from you in 30 seconds. Okay?
I should be better at this because we've done this a few times now, and I think I still can't remember a blooming team.
Let's go. Let's try. 3, 2, 1, go.
Cool. So it was the season we come up, so it was in that white kit, wasn't it? That centenary kit, what it's called. So it would have been Asano.
No.
Was it? No, did he not start?
No.
Sammy Moore?
No.
Midson?
Yeah.
Jolly?
Yes.
I forgot his name now. Oh, the centre half. I can't remember what his name is. I don't like this music. It keeps putting me off. Jamie Stewart.
I'll give you Jamie Stewart. I'll give you the 3.
I can't remember much of that team.
Midson, Jolly, and Jamie Stewart. Okay. There are. I think if I had been asked this, I think I would have got. There's 2 names that I'm thinking I probably wouldn't have got.
Cummings.
Nope, not even Roman Cummings.
Did he not play?
No, because he wasn't with us then. This is the first season. He didn't join us until the second season.
Oh, how can I forget that?
Yeah. So, Seb Brown was in goal.
Oh, yeah. Did you see, by the way, very quickly, Seb Brown, crikey, he's enjoying life at Sutton. I'll leave it at that.
Who was the guy that got in trouble for eating a pasty on a bench?
He's not anywhere near by that.
Well, no, but is that? I'm guessing that's what you're alluding to.
Hey, look, Seb. I'm not going to be derogatory towards him, but he was on Sutton were on against Wrexham. They had a dressing room view, and he walked by, and he was all. Hey, look, I'm no sticking set. Do you know what I mean? But you can definitely tell that with football was controlling and helping him. Do you know what I mean? But bless him, I love Seb Brown. Do you know what I mean? But the camera angle didn't do him any favours. Put it that way.
We'll leave it at that. Say no more. Sam Hatton.
Oh, damn. Yes.
Jamie Stewart, you got. Brett Johnson.
Yeah.
Gareth Gwilym, I'm not sure if I'd have got there.
No.
Ricky Wellard I would have done because he got caught in possession for the second goal. This is the other one I wouldn't have got. Max Porter.
Yeah, when we got him, he was like England C international, wasn't he?
He was.
Barnet, I believe, and great things, and yeah, it just didn't happen, did it?
No, rather we got Gail Porter. Rashid Youssef.
Oh, Tooks.
And Luke Moore, before you then get to Midson and Jolly. So there you have it. Those were the 11. Thank you very much, Stu. Let's finish up then with other bits and pieces. Well, basically, when I say that, what I mean by that is, ladies, they drew 2-2 with Actonians on Sunday. They came from 2-0 down with goals from Helen Ogle and Liz Berkeley, who, Liz Berkeley, I'm pretty sure, was Jessie from Saved by the Bell. It's got to be the same person. Has to be.
Let's find out.
Let's find out. Is Jessie from Saved by the Bell playing for AFC Wimbledon ladies this season? Let's investigate. We can do a special 9 years podcast investigation next week.
Or just ask their manager on Twitter.
Well, we could just do that. Is Liz Berkeley? Is she American? What was that film she did afterwards, which was just, I have to find out. I've forgotten it. Did she like Showgirls or something? What was that film? Anyway.
I love social media because they did a interview with on their Twitter site, on the ladies' Twitter site. They did an interview with the manager. I loved it. It was really good. Really good. It was like, really professional, and I love the fact social media means you can just do things quite easily. You have no skill. And, good coverage by the ladies' team on Twitter.
Thank you for that, Stu. Music quiz. Last week it was Teach Me to Fight by the band Yonanka. And that was sent to us correctly on Twitter by Don's Trust board member Hannah Kitcher, at Hannah Kitcher, who correctly identified it. 2018 was that song. So well done, Hannah. If you recognise the song from this week's start of the podcast, tweet us at 9Wirers Podcast, where you'll also find on Saturday updates from Kingsmeadow for the visit of Bristol Rovers. Not going to lie, Stu, I can't be asked with it. But there we go. Not the Twitter updates. I can't be asked to go because I just can't be bothered. Anyway, Love Sport show this Sunday at 8 p.m. Wimbledon fan show on Love Sport Radio again as well. So tune in to that. Otherwise, we have got to the end. Thank you very much for joining me, Stu.
Thank you.
It has been another miserable week in the world of AFC Wimbledon. We can only hope we have a more positive podcast next Friday. And that said, Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last. We will speak to you again next week.